Yo, what is good YouTube? I'm Richie Kim, and today I'm going to be bringing you all the performance review on Joel Embiid's first signature sneaker, the Embiid 1. Before we get started, if you all enjoy sneaker content just like this, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button down below. But anyways, let's get right into it. As always, starting off with the traction, what you're going to get is this modified radial pattern. I'm not exactly sure what this is supposed to be up in the forefoot, but down here it is supposed to be like Africa, because you know Embiid is from Africa. And yeah, so the traction pattern, I'm just gonna say, you know, it wasn't that great for me. Whether I was playing on one of my cleaner courts or the dustier courts, it was just really inconsistent. You know, if you guys are playing on very clean courts, I don't think you'll have a lot of problems at all. But for me, you know, for the courts that I was playing on, it was just inconsistent. Whether I was trying to do linear or lateral movements, just for me, you know, the traction would give out a little bit. So I would, you know, if I'm trying to really press off of one leg, I would kind of feel the shoe slide a little bit. If I'm trying to do crosses, you know, and I plant that foot, I slide a little bit. So yeah, you know, the traction for me just wasn't that good. I was sliding to a stop rather than stopping on a dime. And you know, that's even with me wiping. And the thing about it is the traction does pick up dust. It doesn't really get stuck in between the grooves as much, because I would say that the grooves for the most part are like decently spaced out, but the traction itself, like the dust just gets stuck onto the actual grooves. And depending on like, I guess how dusty your court is, but for me, like the traction would just get stuck, and it's not a light wipe. Like I really have to actually use my nails to dig the dust off of the traction. And yeah, so, you know, I just really didn't have that great of an experience when it comes to the traction on the shoe. If you guys are playing on like pristine courts, I think the traction will be fine. But for anyone who has like any dust on their courts, I would say that this probably isn't the best traction for you all. I was really hoping that, you know, the traction would just, maybe it just had to break in or something. But even after the amount of hours that I put into the shoe, the traction is still the same. So overall for me, the traction just wasn't that great. So moving on to the cushion, you have a full length micro G with a hover, like, I guess, unit in the heel, and you can kind of actually see the hover through the bottom of this clear outsole right here. You can see like the netting, but that is where the hover is. It is in the heel, and you know, just to make sure that you know it's there, Under Armour has shown that it is here through the bottom of the shoe. And personally, you know, I thought the cushion was actually pretty good. The micro G is nice. It's not like the micro G hover combo that was featured in the Curry 7. This is way better than that. Like, this is way more comfortable. I would say that the micro G has a very good blend of, you know, court feel, impact protection, and has a little bit of bounce as well. It's actually really, really nice. In terms of the hover unit in the heel, I didn't really experience it too much. I don't, you know, predominantly play on my heel. So if you guys do a lot of heel strikes, I'm sure the hover will feel nice and probably, you know, slightly more impact protection. But overall, I really do like the micro G setup in this shoe. It's way better than the micro G that's been put out in other Under Armour shoes recently. So overall, I actually really like the cushion setup in the Embiid 1. So moving on to the materials, the Embiid 1 features this open hold mesh, I believe is what Under Armour calls it. And yeah, you know, it's definitely not the most premium feeling in terms of materials and to the touch, but in terms of performance, it actually gets the job done really well. You know, it is, you know, very ventilated because of these wide open spaces. And in terms of like containment and how it feels on foot, it feels fine. But yeah, just to the touch, it doesn't feel like the best mesh, but it is what it is. And even though it definitely doesn't feel like the highest quality, it gets the job done in terms of performance just fine, which is awesome. Outside of the open air mesh, you do have some other materials on the shoe as well. Around the toe, you do have this hit of fuse for that extra durability. And then you also have this plastic TPU piece right here that's kind of like a wing, I guess, on the lateral side, and a like synthetic piece of nubuck or something on the medial side. As you move towards the back of the heel, you do also have this huge piece of fuse right here as well. And on the back, you also have this like heel tab. And also, you know, the tongue is the same open-aired mesh. So like I mentioned earlier, definitely not the most premium feeling materials, at least to the touch, but in terms of performance, the materials get the job done very well. So moving on to the fit, I think the Embiid 1 fits true to size. Even for wide footers, I think you all should be fine going true to size. I'm a slightly wide footer and I went true to size and it felt perfectly fine. The only iffy area is I guess like where this plastic piece is. If you crank it too tight, you will feel a little bit of pain, but the great thing about the lacing system on this shoe is you can customize how tight you want certain areas of the shoe to be. So just, you know, make this a little bit looser and you guys should be good to go. And I don't think you'll have any problems for those of you that are wide footers. For me, I do think that there is a little bit of excess material up in the toe box area. If you guys like to crank down your laces, you will notice that there is a slight dip right here, but it's, you know, honestly nothing too big, and I really didn't notice it when I was, you know, actually playing in the shoe, but that is just something to note about the fit. As far as everything else goes in terms of fit, I think it feels perfectly fine. You feel very snug in the shoe despite this slight dead space up in the toe box area. So yeah, overall I would say that the fit in the Embiid 1 is actually really good. So moving on to the support in the shoe, I thought the support in the Embiid 1 was perfectly fine. It has everything that you want and nothing that you don't. The Embiid 1 does have an internal heel counter, and you also sit inside the midsole a little bit, which also helps with that support. And you know, in terms of lateral stability, I didn't have any problems with that. You know, I would say that the base of the shoe, you know, it doesn't have the largest outrigger or really like an actual pronounced outrigger, but the foam and the cushion itself protrude out enough where you have a wide base, so you won't have any of those lateral instabilities. I didn't have any side-to-side movement on the footbed. The lateral wing and the medial wing right here really just helps contain your foot onto that footbed, which is awesome. And as far as torsional rigidity and stability goes, I'm not exactly sure if there's a torsion plate in here or not, but it's pretty stiff, so I would say it's got you covered there as well. Overall, you know, like I said, the support in the Embiid 1, nothing too spectacular, nothing over the top, but it basically has everything that you would want in terms of support in a basketball sneaker. So moving on to the price, the Embiid 1 retails for $120, and for $120, I can't really say I recommend this because of the traction issues. If you guys are playing on clean courts, yeah, go for it. I think this shoe will perform just fine on those really clean courts. But if you guys are playing on any sort of dust, and especially if you don't wipe, and you know, I guess depending on like how much dust is actually on the court, but if you guys have dust where it starts to just basically build onto the traction or the grooves of the traction pattern and it gets stuck and you have to use your nails to dig it out, I would probably not recommend this shoe for you because that's gonna get really annoying and you will not stop on a dime. You're gonna slide to a stop, and you know, that's just not what we want out of the traction of a shoe. So honestly, if it weren't for the traction, everything else is great, but the traction for me, I just can't recommend it unless you all are playing on those clean courts. So that's just something to keep in mind. That's pretty much it for this performance review. If you all like this video, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button down below, and also smash that thumbs up button for me, as it really does help me out. While you guys are at it, check out this video on my left and on my right, and that's pretty much it. Till next time, peace.